Welcome to the Visual Kei Podcast. I'm your host Frederick, also known as Whirling Black, and with me today, as usual, I have...
Your co-host Alexi.
Your unholy knight, Aaron.
And me, James, on the soundboard. Because I don't know what we're talking about today. I don't even know what the topic is.
Background James.
Yeah. And also for this episode, we have a special guest, which is Rob. Hello.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
So before we get into the main topic of this episode, I thought it would be interesting for our listeners to know what your relation with Visual Kei is. Like, how did you get into it and so on?
It all started back in 2011. And I know I'm still pretty a greenhorn among a lot of you guys, but yeah, it all started in 2011, and I forget how exactly, but I stumbled upon the video for Beast of Blood on YouTube by Melissa Muzier. And a fantastic starting point. And it all started from there, and I actually was aware of GACT as well through my obsession at the time with Morning Musume in the early 2000s Morning Musume. And they did a lot of crossovers. I was familiar with them, but I never listened to them up until I heard Melissa Muzier. And yeah, it all started from Melissa Muzier, basically, 2011. And it's been on since.
Nice. I remember GACT going on talk shows with a lot of Morning Musume.
Yeah, that's how I first heard him. And I never listened to his music until Melissa Muzier, so I kind of unknowingly went in chronological order in his catalog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like he exists separately as a personality. He really kind of always has.
I think the thing with GACT is that he's almost like a mainstream celebrity, or well, he is a mainstream celebrity in Japan. I mean, when I was there, I saw banana ads where GACT was, there was paper advertisement hanging above the bananas of GACT, like deep throating a banana or something like that.
You know, his dick is part of his public persona. Like, straight up, he goes into the talk shows and he talks about it. And then he says, Magnum. And then, like, a gun pops up on a screen in this, like, Japanese talk show style, and everyone laughs. The girls from Morning Musume laugh and giggle, and GACT is just kind of looking...
looking around,
sunglasses
like
on indoors with a hat.
Exactly. It's always the indoor sunglasses.
Yeah, so you started out with Melissa Muzier, but like, what are your current favorite bands? If you could name drop some acts, just so people know what kind of bands you're into.
My favorite ones, it's no secret among the foreign Visual Kei fan that know me, but I'm a huge fan of soft Visual Kei. And I'm a huge supporter in the dead scene that was soft Visual Kei. And I love a lot of bands from that time. The big guys like Glay and Lark and Sophia. The much smaller guys like Child. And the thing that's cool about Child is one of their guitarists, went on to become a really famous songwriter for guys like Green with 4 E's, who are huge over in the Japanese music world. And so, yeah, I love the soft visual stuff. That's my favorite. And of course, Key Party.
It's pretty funny, but I remember Alexi describing soft Visual Kei sometime as, guys with Leonardo DiCaprio hairstyles and some colorful clothes.
Yeah, it's basically one step away from being a boy band. And there were a lot of Visual Kei bands around the new millennium that were pretty much boy bands, like Bluebee. They were fantastic, but they were also in the boy band area. And great stuff, though. I like it.
Yeah, I think even the reputation of La Chroma Christi early on was that because of the looks of the vocalists, that they were basically a quasi-boy band, but their music, especially for the first album, Sculpture of Time, it's so complex and so intricate.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Levin's one of my heroes. Huge fan of those guys.
We got to do a Sofubi episode.
And I am here for that 100%. If you guys ever need a guest for that, I am on speed dial.
Excellent.
That's great. Yeah, because I don't think any of us actually are heavily into that stuff, so we would definitely need an expert to help us out if we ever
I'm
get
one
there.
of the last of a dying breed.
A lot of Visual Kei bands from like the 90s, like if we would meet them on the street, we'd go like, yeah, I fucking love that Eliphas Levi demo, bro. And he's like, what?
Yeah.
Even he doesn't remember that he made it.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's pretty funny, but I've actually had that kind of situations happen. Like when even I've been straight up talking to some bandman, he doesn't remember, for example, what songs was on a demo tape he released himself. It's pretty hilarious.
I've talked to band guys that straight up deny or don't want to admit that they were in a band when there's hard proof. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, no, that's you right there. He's like, no, it isn't. And, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's like, Issei from Nazare, who deleted all of his band history before DID. Like, he pretends he doesn't exist because he doesn't want to admit he's, 40 years old and play with 20-year-olds.
Right. He wants to be one of the newbies. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, he wants to be seen as young and fresh and not someone who's been playing for 20 years. But with that, I think we're ready to move on to the topic of this episode, right, guys?
Ready.
Yeah.
Most definite. Yeah.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about the Key Party record label, which I guess you would say was one of those sort of like cult indie labels in the late 90s and the very beginning of the 2000s. I think it lasted until 2001, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, like just right into 2001.
Yeah. Yeah, and they had a pretty small roster, but a lot of the bands are the kind of bands that, especially in the Western fandom, I feel like a lot of them have a cult status. Would you guys agree?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Miss Lena Ray and Alien A, and yeah, definitely.
Did he call him Alien A?
I actually, it's a habit of mine to say alien marriage, but I'm trying to fix myself.
I like alien marriage. That's how I pronounced it too for the longest time. I'm like,
isn't that what the name was supposed to mean though? Like, wasn't there personas that like Kyoka was some alien baby or something like that?
Yeah, I heard that Most and Ray were like the parents and they gave birth to Kyoka or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I heard as well.
Wasn't it an
hilarious.
incestuous relationship as well? I think it's a part of the gimmick.
Ugh,
I wouldn't be surprised. Those guys were out of their skulls. Yeah.
The thing with Key Party also is that it's something that people still keep rediscovering, even people coming from outside of the VK. I think the visual brand is so distinct that you recognize it from a mile away, and it can also be impressive to people who are just kind of coming in from the outside to look for something very quirky, and then they see this roster of bands with these very extreme visuals and obviously quite eccentric music, as we'll soon discover.
I agree, and as opposed to, for example, Matina, I feel like there's very little bloat in this label. I mean, Matina had, a billion bands that had like one demo tape that no one cares about. I feel like here it's a lot more concise. We're going to talk about 10 or 11 bands today, and that's the entire roster of this label, so there's very little filling.
And maybe the most significantly, this label gave most of its bands a shot to record a full-length album, which is super rare.
So yeah, speaking about Matina, like everyone got a 2-track demo tape, which they had to dub themselves at night,
Yeah, Key Party really seemed to believe in their bands. They were just like, here you go. You get 12 tracks. Make it worth it.
And I also noticed Matina compared to Key Party is that Key Party had a lot more. Matina had the numbers; they had way more bands. But I think Key Party had much more character to a lot more diversity. Of course, you had Miss Lena Ray, who did some crazy stuff. Alien Marriage. I'm gonna say Alien Marriage. That were just out of their skull, gothy, gloomy stuff, and you know, it was a lot more character, I think, a lot more diversity in the gothic world, which is where Key Party kind of was. They were in the gothic world, and I think in that world there was a lot more character compared to Matina. But to be honest, I was never really a Matina dude, but I loved Key Party, and I think that's why.
Yeah, it's definitely a difference of quality and quantity.
Mm.
You know, Matina was all quantity with a little bit of quality here and there.
Strong agree, yeah.
Yeah.
Key Party, it felt like there was also very strict artistic direction coming from the top, telling these bands what to do and how to look. And there are a lot of unifying factors between all these bands.
Yeah, and you know, speaking about coming from the top, maybe we should, you know, start out with the first artist that we need to discuss, because the Key Party label was founded by the vocalist of a band called Speed ID, and his name was Henry Lee Euro. Yeah.
Henry
Cool guy.
Lee Euro. And the thing is, I didn't realize until doing this show and making notes for it that he's referencing a serial killer.
Henry Lee Euro?
Henry Lee Lucas,
Henry
right?
Lee Lucas, yeah.
Yeah, Henry Lee Lucas,
He's a notorious serial killer. So it's kind of like a Marilyn Manson thing where he's like...
Yeah, he's like Marilyn Manson, but European.
Yeah.
So this was a sample from their debut album, I think, right? The 93 one.
Interdimension,
Interdimension.
yeah.
Yeah, which puts this way before the foundation of Key Party, but I think it's important that we discuss this band anyway, because a lot of key features of Key Party are very important here.
One of the best, in my opinion, one of the best early underground visual albums by far. Like, that dark ambient kind of twist is fantastic. That's one of my favorite Speed ID songs, personally.
Yeah. Speed ID is a fairly new acquaintance for me. I always thought of them as this sort of like weird dad band that I thought that I would really be into. But like this year, I went to listen to the 93 Inner Dimension album, and it surprisingly sounds like the Key Party sound, but in this like embryonic state. There's a lot of influences coming from the international rock scene and punk, being one of the original free will bands. So it's not very surprising. I even thought there was a little bit of shoegaze and stuff like that in there.
Yeah.
And that can go a long way to explain why Key Party ended up having such an emphasis on sonic texture.
Yeah, there's what you mentioned as being sort of like the shoegaze element is definitely this sort of layer of atmosphere in the recording production quality. It's very sort of atmospheric and fuzzy.
I sense a little bit of dark ambient personally in the melodies. It's very eerie, but yet very soothing as well.
Yes. And the whole album kind of has like an 80s kind of bucktick vibe meshed with some like Derlanger attitude, but also like a lunacy melodic kind of flair. And yeah.
I was going to say that I feel like this album, I get what Alexei was saying when he says that this has a lot of Key Party signatures going on, but I also feel like this feels distinctly not very Visual Kei. I feel like the Key Party sound is when you take this sort of atmosphere and mix it with sort of like the late 90s Visual Kei sensibilities and melodies and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why it's not surprising that after this album they moved pretty far away from the typical Visual Kei sound, and Henry Lee Euro started sounding like the dude from Sisters of Mercy, basically. And that's definitely the case for their 99 release, Unholy Night, which is their one Key Party full-length album.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how you would think that Speed ID would be one of the, flagship bands, but yet they didn't really push themselves like that too much during the Key Party era. It's kind of laid back and let the other guys take reign, like Alien, Marriage, whatever their name is. Still can't pronounce it right. And Noir and Miss Selena, they let these guys take the reign. I think that's pretty cool. Not many, Kisaki sure as hell didn't do that.
No. Kisaki was like, I'm front and center. Everyone else is almost like my army. This is very much like Speed ID was sort of the back burner band of this label.
Yeah, I wonder if that's related to the part one of you were mentioning earlier about how it feels like Key Party had a very strict direction. I mean, maybe he was so busy like micromanaging all the details of the other bands that he didn't have time to do his own music.
And probably as the premier professional musician, he's also credited in a shit ton of Key Party stuff. And then he appears in their lives, for example, like the Speed ID drummer is in Alien Alive's.
Yeah, I think
basically just looking like a random dude in a t-shirt.
I think he was their support drummer for the entire duration of their original run once they joined Key Party all the way until disbanding, unless I'm mistaken.
And a shout out to another guy that founded Key Party with Euro, Shinovi, who was the vocalist of some of these guys were not visual sounding in the slightest, I think, and it was a band called Satsurikuto and S1W, and total flop of a band. I lucked out and got a video single of theirs once through sheer luck, but if you look on Key Party releases, you'll see his name pop up very often, so shout out to Shinobi and Satsuriko and all those guys. Well, Shinobi, I don't know how much the other guys' input had, but...
Oh, I checked the name of the Speed ID drummer that was supporting Alien, and his name is JP Hall Jehu.
Kyoka, Mast, Ray, JP.
Yeah,
boy,
something
JP.
doesn't feel quite right there. Yeah.
But yeah, this is before this show this was the first time I ever heard this album. It's one of those things that I missed out on, and it's quite good.
Masterpiece.
Like I didn't expect it. It's so good. It kind of has sort of almost like a Joshua Tree feel. Like it feels like prime U2 but better, sort of like through a VK lens. I didn't expect to like it this much. It's some songs are very, sort of grand and glam rocky, and other songs are very sort of atmospheric electro, like soft ballet. Henry Lee Euro kind of has like a understated voice. Sometimes it sounds like he's barely letting out any kind of projection, and that also gets buried in the mix, and it fits that whole almost pseudo shoegaze atmosphere. It's very, very dense.
Yeah, and there's also some pretty frantic, chaotic songs as well in the mix, like Moonshine, I believe, was pretty out of place, frantic,
Mm-hmm.
You expect more mellow kind of stuff with that Barato Mountain Rose sample, but then here comes Moonshine, it's like, nope, detour into madness kind of thing. That's what I liked about Speed ID is that, you never know what you're going to get with those guys. And most of the time, they hit it out of the park. And they're still around today, so shout out to Speed ID.
Yeah, great variety on this. I noticed I was Googling around, and I saw that the remastered edition of this album has a butt on the cover, which is pretty cool.
Yoshiki's or...
It might be Henry's butt. I don't know.
Oh,
yeah, but there's like there's a speech bubble coming out of it and everything. It's great.
Nice. Yeah, so after Speed ID, I think the first band that sort of hit it big, and at least the first band that had any major releases on the Key Party label was Nail or Neil. Which way would you pronounce it?
I think it's pronounced Nail, but I say Neil.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Nail.
But,
yeah, let's say Nail.
Yeah, it's pronounced Nail.
Yeah. So, let's move on then to Nail.
So I want to say this band has a lot of PVs. Like I'm pretty sure they were promotion for this band was a big focus.
Yeah, I think they were sort of, along with Alien, the sort of band that received the most money and attention and releases. I think they might actually be the Key Party band with the largest discography, which isn't saying much, but it's something.
And at the same time, I think it's their clearest link to the general sound of VK around like the middle point of the 90s. It doesn't sound quite as ripe.
And that's exactly my problem with Nail. I'll give them credit for being the only Key Party band to go major, which was a huge deal. No, not even Miss Selena, even though they broke the Oricon charts, went major. But despite that, like they are, for me personally, they're a bit too generic. They're very gothy, very atypical late 90s kind of sound. And yeah, very much like most bands of the time, nothing really special, but I do give them credit for being major. That was pretty huge for a Key Party band.
Yeah, I think that my feelings about this band is pretty similar in the sense that I feel like it's a very competent band, but listening through their discography, it's not really a sort of exciting thing to do, because I feel like a lot of their songs are very much in the same vein as other songs or other bands. So they have their hits, and I'm really fond of some of their songs, but all in all, I feel like they're one of those competent bands that sort of just falls in this bracket of okay.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot that makes them stand out, in my opinion. In retrospect, they're really sort of just like a melting pot of a lot of other bands that were around at the time.
I just hope we don't get flamed, because I know Nail have some hard fans out there. But shout out for them being a major band. That's really cool, though. Not too generic for me, though, but yeah.
It's the band that the label kind of tried out its distinct visual style, I think, for the first time. Like Misery came out in 98. But it has a very Key Party cover art, and I think it might have been the first to have something like that going on. The aesthetic of the Key Party band started like becoming more uniform in around like 99-ish.
Yeah, and I mean, Nail had their first Key Party release on Christmas Day 97, so I think that might even have been one of the first releases of the label. Period.
I believe Nail were around before Key Party was a thing, and then they signed on to Key Party.
Yeah, I think they were a band that were like signing on at the foundation, I would assume, because actually the very first release from Key Party is a Nail release, so it's a demo from 97. So I believe they were there from the start.
I remember reading, I have a million Shots magazines, and some are from the 96 range, and yeah, like Neil are plastered even back then they're plastered on the indies sections a good amount. So I think Key Party are like, man, these guys are they're really popping really good. We gotta get these guys on our label. I think they'll push us to a next level. And Nail definitely gave them that rocket fuel to really push them to that next level.
Yeah, Nail honestly probably funded all the rest of the Key Party bands indirectly and directly, actually.
At least early on, I think. I would imagine they were like the big hit early on in the label, and then I think around the time of the Alien albums, they probably overtook it, because I remember the Alien album sold like 10,000 copies or something crazy like that. Yeah, so let's move on to the third band, and it's Life as Levy. I used to love that bass sound.
Yeah. That sample timestamp, it seems kind of odd because there's like a whole minute of just like a fake piano, but I feel like that's a really important distinction for this band because they were a clear departure from Nail and Speed ID in that they were really sort of theatrical, and they went hard on that sort of gothic neoclassical approach. And I love these guys. I'm a big fan of this band. I felt like they should have went on a little longer. I love Kei's voice. Assuming Key Party didn't have any oft-rumored ghostwriters, Shuri's songwriting is also top-notch. Great stuff.
It would be the first band on the Key Party label that's coming from that Mullis Miser vein. But just like with the other bands on the label, the theatricality is combined with this urgency coming from VK's punk and metal roots, which are very evident on the label. And I don't know if I got my chronology messed up, but I'll take a shot. I think their aggressive synthesizer use is probably an influence on a band like Metis Gretel, for example.
Oh, totally.
That would use these really cheap sounding effects as like a bludgeoning instrument.
Mm-hmm. Yep, all the fake synth, sort of like fake piano, fake strings, all that stuff. It very sort of, I think it trickled into a lot of bands after this. And
it's always on the front and center.
Yeah, it's always front and center. They even have songs like on Tsumetai Atelier. There's songs on there that sound like a bunch of other bands that never really got very big, like Kinarura, a band I really liked. They were very inspired by these guys. It's a great band, honestly.
I still can't pronounce. I'll never be able to pronounce their name right. Kino.
It's like spelled Kinelre, but I think their katakana was Kinarura, so I just go with that.
Yeah.
I see their name everywhere, and I haven't listened to them yet, but they look really cool.
They're great, yeah.
And but as far as Elephas Levy goes, they're a hit and miss band for me. Like when they hit hard. For me personally, like my personal favorite of theirs, and one of my personal favorite Visual Kei tracks of all time is Zange no Asani, like that kind of waltzy kind of thing. Like I love that song.
Yeah,
the PV is incredible as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the PV. It's got that low budget energy, and it's like some kid's art school project. It's fantastic.
Totally.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually Key Party in general.
Yeah, and I love that song. And when they hit hard. But the last songs that don't really connect with me. But yeah, when they hit, man, they hit hard. When they really mix up their kitschy energy, it's fantastic. When they muster it all up, they get something like Mallory or Zange no Asani. That's some good stuff.
Yeah, I have to add. Sorry, I just wanted to add as well when we're on the subject of the keyboards that I think they deserve some props for actually being one of those bands that had a keyboardist playing live. They had a support keyboardist who performed at their concerts, so they didn't have the keys playback, but actually someone was performing them.
Nice.
That's very cool.
Yeah, the guy from Aurexia. It's a great name.
Yeah,
and I suppose sorry.
Now go on. Sorry.
What do you guys think of their final mini album?
I thought it was all great. I mean, their best stuff came from Liddell, in my opinion, but I don't think they ever had a bad release.
Well, this one is notable because it doesn't have any vocals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've seen people either ignore it or basically just call it complete garbage anyway. And they were on an incredible streak of 2 amazing mini albums. And when they lost that sing-along equality, which they always had, the final mini is almost like a tragedy. I mean, even the songs are decent, but it's just not the same anymore. It's missing that essential sex appeal of Visual Kei.
It's nice to if I'm like on an Eliphas kick, I will shuffle that album in with the rest of the stuff, so then it sounds kind of like they're like interludes, you know? They just divide the tracks up. But I don't mind it not having the vocals. I like the songwriting in general, and the atmosphere of their music is really great. They also had like a different vocalist early on, who was pretty cool. What was his name? Gillis.
Gillis.
Yeah.
Gillis. Yeah, he sounds like a demented witch or something like that. It's great.
Yeah.
I think actually he might have one of the most interesting voices in Visual Kei. It's a shame he only had made one song.
I know. I kind of wish
They decided it was a bit too interesting for the band.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I wish he had more sort of like track record with a band like this, but he went straight into like Lucid Brain and different bands with different sounds that didn't really suit his crazy voice.
I never heard Lucid Brain, but I love their image.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're kind of just like that Kote Osa sort of pop punky sound.
Well, speaking of which, Kei, after the band, went into a band called Vinette, which featured other Key Party graduates like Ray. And
Shuri.
As we'll find out later, Key Party bands towards the end started to experiment with what they thought that the future was gonna be. And in the case of Vinette, they thought it was going to be Osharake. And they had a pretty short run. They put out some bangers. Twinkle Twinkle is great, but yeah, it didn't go anywhere for them.
I remember seeing there were archive posts like on Last.fm and places like that of people that just vehemently hated VNet because it was like, oh, you got these traditional goth VK guys, now they're in like, you know, Oshare gear doing that sound. They're like, we fucking hate this. Like, ugh. Like people were emotional about it. Different times.
People were
now,
even saying
I'm
that they sold out, and I'm like, they're still indie. They didn't sell out to anything. They're just following trends.
Like there was like maybe like 2 people more in the audience than before.
Yeah, basically. But I feel
the venue sold one
attempt.
beer more.
It was an attempt to sell out, a failed attempt to sell out.
I mean, you know what? Technically, it's probably correct. I mean, look at what Ray went to do immediately afterwards. That was definitely like a weird interlude that just didn't really suit anyone. Once Kei followed me on Instagram after I followed him, and he liked some of my cat pictures. So, you know, I mean, Mike's a very handsome lady, so I understand why he would do that.
Also, I wanted to mention that the drummer of Life as Levy was the original drummer of Lorraine. Because I think he left the band in 95, and then in 97 or 6 he formed Life as Levy. And I think you can hear some of those influences as well from like the very early Lorraine stuff like Deering Grey and things like that in this music.
Before Matsu.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's basically the Malice Miser connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard an Eliphas song was actually via the song Rebirth off of Liddell. And I was on Winamx just downloading MP3s, as you do, back in the early 2000s. And someone had tagged it Lasades. And so I hit play thinking, oh, this is like early Kyo stuff. Interesting. And I was so young that I believed it, and I thought Kyo's voice had just changed a hell of a lot since then. And I'm like, damn, they were really kind of gothy. He sort of changed it up a lot with Deering Grey. Very interesting. And it actually took me a few years before I discovered that it was not Lasades at all. And I mean, I still loved it, and I was like, damn. It's a shame they didn't release more stuff, but then I was stoked to find out that it was actually a different band. So yeah, I can't gush about these guys enough. I just loved their sound. It's like a baby kind of Malice Miser in spirit, but without any harpsichord. So if you liked Malice Miser but you hate harpsichord, I feel like this is a great band to go with. Yeah,
in general, I think this is one of those bands I would recommend to anyone who wants to get into like 90s Visual Kei, because I feel like this band sort of, at least in my mind, is a very good representative of a lot of things that was, at least to me, like the indie scene in the 90s.
Agreed. Yeah.
So with that, let's move on to the next band, which is Noise.
I was wondering how you pronounce the name of this.
Me too.
Huh.
I thought it was like a fancy way of saying noir.
The thing is that it's been established the Finnish way is the only way to pronounce these bands, so it will be Noiks.
I always thought it was Noir.
See, I think it's not noise because I mean,
think
Sheena
so.
was in the band Noisy Crowds before that, so I think it's like a pun on that.
Yeah.
Could be.
Personally, I always felt like this is the band that fell through the cracks for most people online. Personally, I love their first 2 albums, but I very rarely see people talking about them.
Yeah, I agree. Deluge in particular, I love strictly on the strength of the 2 singles, Flowers and Dark Side for Mania. Like those songs, I was just in the car coming home right before we did this, and I put on Dark Side for Mania. I haven't heard that in months, and it was like, man, this still gets the blood flowing. This is still some really good stuff. And it's just a shame, that they didn't get the same kind of adoration. They were kind of stuck in purgatory, I would say.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, if you look at them at first glance, you think like, oh, it's some Neelified Make-A-Wish answer to Baiser. But especially after they hit their stride with Deluge, everything came together. The visual style, the ethereal feel, just injected with this velocity and aggression from Neil, I guess. I mean, they always had that, but for Deluge, everything just came together and it was magical.
Fantastic album, and it took me a long time to find a copy of that album. For some reason, that album is worth a pretty penny, and it took me a while to find a copy under 2,000 yen. And when I did, I just grabbed it. I'm like, this is one of the best Key Party albums. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, it's great stuff. Noir, Noise, however, NOI''X are a great band, and even when they came back within the last few years and they did some new stuff, that's great too. And not many visual bands that reunite after so long can have that same kind of energy and that same kind of feel. And Noir really, they're one of the rare ones. They kept that going. Great band. Great band.
Yeah, Deluge.
Sheena put all that Enka magic to work.
Oh God, yeah. Isn't Sheena still doing stuff?
Yeah, I mean, he's still doing noise. It's still existing. Or it's reformed, but it performs lives and stuff.
Nice.
Frederick, I heard you saw him live.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good one. I have to tell this story because it's pretty funny. The vocalist, Sheena, he performs as an Enka singer these days as well, under the name Takashi, which I think is his actual name. So I went to a show with a bunch of bands, and I couldn't quite remember which other ones were playing that particular day, but I know there was a bunch, so there was fans of various different bands in the venue. But the interesting part is that when it was announced that he was the next act, all the other girls in the audience left the venue and went outside, like, except his fans. Like, I think there was 12 people still in the venue and me, and I wondered why did all of the other girls go outside and, stand there and smoke and drink instead of watch this performance. But I soon realized that it was because he forces the audience into participating in various dances with him. So during one song, he had a mandatory conga line, which, you had to join him. The thing where you hold on to the person in front of you and all of that. Yeah, you had to join him and walk around the venue like that.
Wow.
I refused, but he really tried to sell it to me, come on, motioning for me to come, but I stood my ground. But all of the other girls were participating. I guess they had to, and that's why no one was in the venue, because he forced everyone to participate in dancing.
Amazing.
I mean, that would have been a sight to have this 2 meters tall Scandinavian man next to this 5 feet tall Japanese girls in a conga line with a washed up old VK musician.
It sounds like a party.
So that's my experience seeing this guy live. I haven't had the pleasure of catching any of his other projects, but this one was an experience at least I won't forget in a hurry.
And it's interesting how he can how he's got that switch on, where like he can be this clowny Anka dude, or he can be the guy from Noir, and I think that's pretty cool trait to have. That kind of not taking yourself so serious like many of the other visual bands, especially of that time, are. They're like they stay in that character and they don't want that facade broken. Whereas this guy's like, I don't care.
It's just having fun.
Let's do a conga line.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's a bit of a sort of personality. I think he was doing like various TV broadcasts as well as a host, hosting interviews with bands and stuff like that. So I think he's just a very jovial person.
Other than that, I was going to say Deluge is really sort of an album that has so many 90s VK tropes that it almost sums up an entire decade of VK in like 10 tracks. There's tracks that sound like Pierrot. There's tracks that sound like Lunacy. Track 8, Paranoid, was probably my favorite, and it was the closest to that sort of dark goth rock sound from the early 90s that has on the album. And I thought it was a really cool sound. And it's a good album.
Yeah. I also want to add that they are one of very few bands in this label that have 2 full-length albums. I think that warrants
Excuse
some
me?
praise as well.
Rare.
3.
3.
Y'all must have forgot their rather unfortunate third album that was more or less going to the same direction as Neufleurer, and
oh yeah. Yes, I
maybe
forgot
less
that
said
one.
the better. But it has many similarities to Neufleurer's later output, which is basically industrial nu metal disco. We'll leave it at that.
And I personally, the first album might be my favorite because the track Rushed Blue is one of my all-time favorite like 90s VK tracks. So yeah, I mean, all the rest of you were repping the second one, so I had to give the first one a shout out as well. And with that, I think we should move on to what probably is the most obscure band on this label, which is Rapture. Okay, so I think even for fans of Key Party, this band is most often forgotten. I mean, I sure didn't remember they existed until we started preparing for this episode. I don't know about you guys, but they're not one of those bands that pops into mind when you think about Key Party.
Yeah. This is kind of a vk.gy thing, but I feel like this band is one of the earliest examples of mellow K, because it really kind of fits that just like sort of like bedroom VK. It feels like none of the members in the band are especially virtuoso, but they really kind of just give it their all. And A for effort. Their drummer also, Kazuki, was the same Kazuki from Duel of Quartz, which I thought was interesting. Even though I think this CD, the CD we're talking about, it's a CD, I think, or a tape. But it's
a CD, yeah.
CD, but it's all programmed drums, so he doesn't really get to show off. It's just kind of like electro drums. But
you know, when people ask me what kind of music I listen to, I'm just like, yeah, I listen to techno. I'm just gonna put on the second track from this release.
Oh yeah, that one was weird. I think I described in our chat as like it sounded like a soundtrack to one of those old Doom games.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, because honestly, I think this album, which is the only release this band has on Key Party, it feels very much like a very generic take on 90s VK, like Aaron said, by a bunch of not particularly talented musicians.
Yeah. I really don't have much to say about it, but it definitely makes sense that these guys ended up pretty much forgotten compared to the other bands on the label.
Yeah. I don't think... Sorry.
I'm just gonna say that, they're okay. That's all I gotta say. They're okay. They're okay.
Yeah, I think that we can sum it up like that. Rapture.
They're okay.
They're okay. Yeah.
They're okay.
I did actually listen to some of this one, and the only instrument that kind of stuck out to me was the bass. I remember thinking like, oh, this bass is some pretty good bass lines in some of these songs.
It's got some solid bass lines. It's a notable element.
Yeah.
Rapture, good, an okay band with good bass.
Yeah, that can be the tagline.
Yep. Okay, next one.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to the next band, which is actually two bands because they are so closely related. We decided to group them together, which is Deflower and their sort of sequel, rebranding, follow-up, Noir Fleurir.
Oh yeah, this is the good stuff.
La la. So this is a really great band with a unique sound, and I mentioned this in the ad part of a previous episode, and this wasn't really reflected much in the sample, but what was interesting about them is they really liked to utilize flamenco scales in their songs, sort of Spanish influence in the music, which I find is rare to non-existent in VK. Yeah, in that episode, I also mentioned that I thought it was interesting that they didn't reflect the Spanish influence in their visuals, but someone in the vk.gy Discord actually reminded me of their guitarist Karen, fucking Karen.
Manager K.
Karen was always wearing Spanish dresses and ponchos, so I think the flamenco stuff probably came from Karen. You know, unless it was a Henry thing that their visuals and their sound had flamenco stuff. Who knows?
God damn you, Karen.
Fucking Karen.
But the thing that I love about Noir Fleur, they were probably along with they were the second to last band I found on Key Party, and I love their the songs that have Kengo on vocals. It's kind of like Fairy Tales on Fire.
Yeah.
Like kind of like Grimm's fairy tale kind of thing, and I love that kind of aesthetic.
Yeah.
And yeah, Noir Fleur were definitely probably pound for pound, I would say probably the most unique band on Key Party, unless you want to talk or discuss or bring up Alien. But even then, I think Noir Fleur went more places and did more kinds of things than Alien did, and they were all over the place. And great, and a great live act too.
Yeah.
Great live act.
I'm glad you mentioned Kengo, their bass player, who got super popular for his sort of quirky vocals and his gothic Lolita vibes. He was really kind of like if you made Mana into a Sanrio character. Just super exaggerated and just cutesy. Great stuff. Their PV for Omocha no Misha, that was my first exposure to Noir Fleurir. That was a song that sang entirely by Kengo and was a huge meme in my friend circles back in the day. It would just sort of really exemplified that weird Japan phenomenon in the early 2000s that everyone was just going nuts about. I loved showing it to people who didn't know what Visual Kei was and sort of watching the reaction.
It's interesting you mentioned that track because I think the sort of early Western fan culture meme status of that track was also prominent here in Sweden, because I remember I was talking to some people who were coming to my club, like people maybe 10-15 years older than me, so already middle-aged. They said that back in the day that all of the people in the sort of small Swedish VK fan scene around this time, like around the year 2000, everyone was really into this track, so they always would request this when they came to the clubs I was hosting, and I was very perplexed because it never made the rounds in the sort of circles I was hanging out in.
Yeah, in the Deflower era, Malice Miser's first period is obviously a big thing. And I think the Mediterranean influence is also coming through that early Tetsu era, Malice Miser stuff. But the fact that they had these two contrasting vocalists was a very, very big thing during this, what I would think, although the Deflower stuff I think is really good, I think they hit their Y2K fuck sweet spot with Millennium, which has basically their hits, on which Onimusha included. It transcends just being another, albeit very good, Key Party prototype with this rather unorthodox application of these industrial influences into those music box melodies that they were working with from the start. So it kind of shuffles the entire deck instead of just like adding stuff on top.
Yeah, I wanted to add also about them that I believe that they actually completely dropped the Visual Kei thing in their last year of existence. Like, they went completely like boy band look.
Yeah, they were softer than soft. Yeah, they were pretty much non-visual that play. It was a great. I remember when those photos made the rounds online, people were like, "That's really Kengo? That's really like these look like dorky dudes. Like what is this?"
Yeah.
You know?
And their sound kind of went completely forgettable electro, industrial, pop, rap, rock. It sounds kind of like if early Metronome had no talent and the personality is gone. It's just kind of a sad representation.
Dude, full disclosure, I think it sucks. It's the Y2K turn is all fine and all, but it's just amazing how lethargic they became. The first, for 10 years later, it has that rinky-dink DUI feel to it, and that's okay. But Omocha no Misha, for example, is just butchered completely. And then with their final album, it starts off with like good-natured rapping. And I think it's also self-published. It's post-Key Party. It's a really, really strange release and a very strange character arc for this band.
Yep, a big miss. I don't know. Maybe they got really disenfranchised with Visual Kei, or they were just like struggling. Maybe they saw Key Party ending, and who knows?
And then Kengo just disappeared into the sunset.
Gone. Sad.
Yeah, I think the thing is that around this time it was a thing that bands were doing. Like, a lot of bands were trying to move away from the visual. Maybe they saw it as like a natural career progression if they weren't really about the visual lifestyle. Anyway, maybe they thought they could widen their audience by becoming a more sort of boy band looking group.
Yeah, people were making bets on the future, and as you know, what happens with bets, a lot of them are misses.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that, if, for example, my favorite point of reference, I mean, like if Deering Grey had disbanded right after their sound change with Six Ugly or something, people probably would have been pretty weirded out as well by that progression.
Yeah, I mean, if instead of the new metal stuff that they ended up referencing, they would have referenced Crazy Town instead.
If only.
Or they could have been the next Glay, so you never know.
True.
Yeah, exactly.
During Glay, yeah.
I can sum up Noir Fleurir with one little soundbite. We are Mascaredo! There, that was my Kengo. Thank you.
Oh, perfect.
Kengo needs more impersonations. That guy's a legend.
I agree.
Sounds like a lucrative career being a Kengo impersonator.
You can open up for the noise Enka singer with your Kengo impersonation routine.
Yes. Full cosplay.
Yeah, for all of the all
like
three
double
people still
headline.
remember him.
Area.
No, I think it's more Chop, to be honest.
It's the rock bar in Irkutsk that Dimlim was supposed to go to.
Yes, exactly. But I think we're ready to move on. But first, just a quick word from our sponsors.
This episode of the Visual Kei Podcast is sponsored by Rare's Hut. Rare's Hut is your source for rare and not so rare imported Japanese rock, metal, and Visual Kei outside of Japan. Their prices compete with street prices in Japan, so save on import fees and shop at Rare's Hut. Oh, important to note that Rare's Hut is currently having a mega store closing sale. They've been having it since December. And if you order from the website this month, February, and next month, March, you're going to get different percentages off your order. This month it's 20% off, and next month it's 25% off. And you can also add our voucher, VKPC, at checkout to add an additional 10%. I'm pretty sure that works. It did when we tried it, but maybe they fixed it. I think maybe it was a bug or an exploit. I don't think they patched it out yet. I think you should just jump on that. They have some good selections, really good stuff you want to buy on there. Once the shop's gone, it's gone. You don't want to miss out on that stuff. So get on it. By the way, if you're enjoying this episode and want to help us out, please subscribe, give us a like or a 5-star rating, and recommend us to your friends. Follow us on Twitter at the VK Podcast. Join the vk.gy Discord server to hang out with us and meet new VK fans. And catch new episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and pretty much anywhere else you can listen to podcasts. Thanks.
Okay, and we're back. And moving on to the next band, it's La Fairy.
Not to be confused with Clefairy.
The Fairy Boys.
Fairy Boys.
This band is a great mystery to me because they just appeared out of nowhere, released one EP and disappeared. And this EP is one of my all-time favorites actually in Visual Kei period, which is strange coming from a band of nobodies that just appeared and disappeared within 1 or 2 years.
It's a fantastic album, yeah. This was actually the very last band I discovered on Key Party. And I don't know why it took me so long, but one day I was just like, let me just try these guys out. I was like, wow, this is pretty damn good. The vocals are a bit wonky at times, but it adds to the charm,
The only thing notable that any of the members ever went to was the guitarist Shiki went to Beata, which was kind of like a Laputa copy band. But other than that, there was nothing after this.
Damn, I always thought it was pronounced Beta. Huh.
I'm pretty sure it's Beata because it's like a Christian reference.
They already resigned, with their career aspirations by being just Beta right from the get-go.
Beta.
Bunch of Beta.
Beta tape.
They went from Fairy Boys to
home.
Beta Boys.
Well, yeah, another thing to mention, that this EP is called La Bercuse. And the funny thing is that I didn't realize that Bercuse was actually a real thing. I never heard the word before. Apparently it's some kind of style of lullabies or something like that. So I always for many years just walked around thinking that they were just terrible at spelling the word because.
The because.
I can relate, yeah.
Yeah, I literally thought it was supposed to be called La Because. And then they just fucked up the spelling of because, so it became Bercuse.
Yeah, but this is very exemplary of the Key Party sound. They really nailed it. They narrowed it down into a microscope.
But still, their virtuosity is even at a high standard for the label. I definitely agree about the vocals. They are a bit wonky, but they are very charming. But the rest of the instruments are way ahead. You can think of early Malice Miser again, but being played by one of the early VK thrash units. So it's the aristocratic vampires going off with the caveman on the drums.
Yeah, this album has no place being this good and tight and well made. I mean, considering that they were kids just starting out, coming from nothing. It kind of makes me sad thinking what this band could have been if they had just been able to stick around a bit longer.
Yeah, didn't the vocalist do some really obscure band for a few months after?
Yeah, he was in some
Band
was
called
in
Valkyria.
He was
Yeah.
in a project, but it's not like it came to anything.
Yeah, and it was only for like a few months, I think, too.
On vk.gy, it says Lafiri is actually pronounced Lafair.
Yeah.
And
I saw that as well, Ista.
but it also says that in 1999, under mutual agreement, they seceded from Key Party. I wonder what that mutual
What a
agreement
bad decision that was.
I wonder if it was like, they realized they were more talented, so they left Key Party, and the mutual agreement meant that, they were not allowed to play any venues anymore, like basically doing an early Megibray.
So basically what happened is that Henry Lee Euro walked to the dressing room and he was like, okay guys, this is what you're going to do for your next album. So we got the synthesizer and you're going to start rapping. And they were like, nah, pass.
We're out.
And then they left on mutual agreement.
I would have loved to see him do that with the same makeup that they had, the same coat kind of getup, but with light electro pop rap going on. And fantastic bait and switch.
Yeah. Do a cover of Crazy Town's Butterfly.
Yeah, but another thing to mention, I feel like, is it's an extremely compact album. I feel like there's no filler on this. I can sit through the whole thing like back to back without any fatigue, which is not that common for me. I've never been the kind of guy who can sit through albums except on first listen, perhaps. So I think that speaks volumes to the sort of like lowest bar the band has is still pretty high.
My personal jam on the album's Yokon. Like the way the drums sound, it's like, wow, that's some good stuff right there. And then the chorus kicks in and it just meshes perfectly. That's my personal favorite on the album. Great stuff all around though. Great album.
Yeah, I think that's all we have on these guys. So let's move on to the next one, which is we've been joking about this for many episodes, but finally we're going to cover James' favorite band, Kagura, in their original rendition as Crow.
I was hoping you would just introduce it as Crow, so after the sample played, I could be like, this sounds like Kagura.
Oh, okay, we can
Actually,
redo
that
it.
would have been the one time when you think that it doesn't sound like Kagura.
we can redo that if you want.
No, it's fine.
That's
Then
pretty funny.
No, then you'll have to laugh and it'll be fake.
Yes, we
It's
can
true.
fake laugh. We're good at that.
None of us are
can
good
get
enough actors.
The TV laugh track kind of thing going.
Yeah.
Get the Seinfeld music.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's why they called him Crow. That caw.
Yeah, I know, right?
Caw.
That's such a weird sound. They've never really done something like that again.
Probably for a reason.
Yeah, I guess so. It's to clarify, Kagura is not my favorite band, but I do quite like them a lot. I will say this Crow demo tape is pretty good, but it's very rough, and you can definitely, like, Ishii's vocals were not as expressive on it.
It's wild to think that the most prolific and commercially successful band coming out of Key Party is this one tape wonder with like one of the most generic band names of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, one of the reasons they changed their name from Crow was because it was the name of a million other bands at the time. And also, the name Kagura fits their aesthetic better, too, because it refers to a dance, a ceremonial Shinto dance called the Kagura.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to think about, but I imagine they were headhunted straight from the get-go after the release of this demo, since they left Key Party within like less than a year or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like they joined in May of 99 and they left in March of 2000.
Went straight to PS Company.
Yeah, exactly. They joined PS Company already like a month or two after that, it says.
It's impressive how quickly they got rid of the Key Party isms. Their first mini album on Business Smile Company, Nue, doesn't have that punky, thrashy thing that still like has this residual effect on this tape. You can hear that, for example, in like the beginning of Saishu Tensei, which is very Key Party-esque.
Yeah. Yeah, a few of the songs.
Yeah, the thing with Crow... Oh, go on.
I was going to say, a few of the songs off of this got remade and released under Kagura, like Hyakyako and Setsunara Kotoba. They sound very indie-rific, like you mentioned, Alexi. It's very, very crunchy and low budget.
They sound better. I like the Kagura versions of all the songs that they remade a lot better.
I 100% agree, yeah.
Yeah.
Usually I'm a big fan of early stuff, but...
That's the thing with Crow, though, for me, is that I was so used, and I was a huge Kagura fan when I first got into Visual Kei, that I couldn't, and I still can't give Crow a fair listen, because I'm just so used to the calm, folky kind of sound of Kagura. I'm like, oh, like Utakato, like that's like on another level. And then I hear Crow with the ka. I'm like, no, this isn't. No, I can't judge this unbiasedly, you know.
Yeah, and I mean we're only reviewing this very first demo on this because otherwise we will probably make a whole episode at some point dedicated to this band. We can't possibly justify glancing over their discography, which is enormous in 10 minutes. So we're limiting ourselves to the Key Party period, which was, as we just mentioned, about 9 months.
Yeah, I really got to refrain from talking about how much I love this band because this is very much the embryonic period where sort of, they were just kind of getting their feel. But they went on to be a really one-of-a-kind kind of band.
Yeah, they were incredible talents. Honestly, like, you can already tell it's them. There are Kagura-esque melodies there, but spikier, more abrasive. The Japanesque elements are far more subtle than in the subsequent releases. My favorite period of Kagura is actually everything up to the first album, which I think has a little bit of that late 90s indie VK sound. Because after the first album, they just became what we generally know as Kagura.
Yeah, and the thing that's cool about the Crow demos, if you look at the jacket art where you see Crow, they still had the Kagura folky kind of costumes going with the kimonos and whatnot. So they had their foundation there, just the sound was... It wasn't the Kagura sound yet. It was like... Yeah, it was like he said earlier, much more spiky and raw and ka and all that.
Exactly. Yeah, I should mention that I'm not sure if you guys listened to it, but they did put out a sort of a ballad type song on the Key Party Omnibus shortly before moving over to PS Company that really sounds a lot like Kagura as we know it.
Yeah, totally.
It's full-blown Kagura, very clean and just pretty. There's no Key Party left at all in that song.
That sort of makes me wonder if moving from Key Party might have also been a stylistic choice for them. Maybe they were sort of being railroaded into
disco
doing Henry Lee Euro's vision. yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe he was like, new metal, synths, and rap is the next thing. So you guys do an album with this.
The kimono is cool and all, but what about a wife beater?
Have you heard of this band called Limp Bizkit?
Alexi, what's the first album you mean? Gozen was the one that you like?
Gozen, yeah.
Yeah. Looking over the discography, I would say 2002 is their prime.
Yeah, for me personally, I think Kagura released like bomb after bomb up until the very end. So I don't have an exact clear-cut favorite era. Like, that's all like they're one of the few visual bands and probably one of the few bands that were around over a decade in total that like never had a weak point per se, I would say. So like I love their final album too. Like great band. So I don't have a particular favorite era. Like, it's all good to me.
Agreed. They were very hit and miss per track toward the end, but they still put out a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention that I just noticed that the vocalist Ishii was originally a nail roadie, so I guess the trajectory to joining Key Party makes sense from that angle. That, he had a sort of back way to enter the label thanks to his already being affiliated with a band on the label.
Nice.
And his first band was also a soft visual band, which is pretty odd to imagine. One of the guys decked out in traditional kimono gear was a soft boy at one point. Soft visual boy.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Ishii's first band?
Yeah.
Yeah, they look very just like they're like wearing turtlenecks and fishnets. And they have the short hair going.
Soft guys.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio in fishnets.
Yeah, exactly.
A deleted scene from Titanic. They don't want you to see that.
I said Ishii's first band. It's actually Ishii now and Izumi.
Draw me like one of your Japanese cross-dressers.
Yes.
Right.
Draw me like one of those Key Party cross-dressers.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do I up the contrast in a pencil drawing?
Yeah.
You gotta add the red, yeah.
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 Draw me and don't draw the nose, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that looks pretty good, but I think there's a little bit too much nose and chin, personally.
Yeah, erase those things. So
Okay,
I think we should move on before we have covered the entire Kagura discography.
Discography.
Wow, that's good.
Yes.
Thanks.
Leonardo DiCaprio in the scene in Once Upon a Hollywood when he's watching his old stuff on TV and drinking beer, and it's basically like just Key Party PVs, and he's just pointing at it, that's me.
Yeah, okay.
If you've seen the movie, you get it.
Yeah, okay. Let's move on to the next band, which is called Larmia.
Now these guys, for me, are they have the nail syndrome for me, in that they're a bit too generic for my taste. Massively popular though, when they're around. I think they just reunited, but yeah, just too generic for my personal taste. That kind of hard goth rock kind of thing. It's like, eh.
Yeah, they're kind of like, they're a lot like Nail in that way, but they have more of an edge to them. But it's still sort of, it doesn't stand out a whole lot. But they have that sort of post-punk goth rock edge to them that really kind of represented that sort of dark fringe K of the time. Without the VK tag, this band could easily integrate into the 90s Japanese goth and experimental punk scene. Although this came out a little bit too late for that. But
I'm shocked by these takes. I think this band is amazing. They're the most Kuroyume adjacent band in the entire Key Party lineup. The overall soundscape is rather plain.
It's Kuroyume adjacent in 1998.
Yeah, the soundscape overall is rather plain for the label. It doesn't have a lot of like production tricks going on. It's like an organic band sound, like a raw basement goth. Kuroyume's romanticism is downplayed here by the punk undertone, which is more present, like it was in most Key Party stuff before like 2000. Refuse sounds like it's an Alien cut, actually. Maybe even because of its production choices, where this has this left and right panning guitar that matches the style that seems to be like the calling card of the Speed ID guy.
Yeah, I would have liked to see where this band would go, but they only did this album and a bunch of demos, I think. It's a recurring issue with this label, of course.
You could also make a convincing argument that a lot of their material was if not already in the bag, then at least like conceived in like an early part of 1999. The stuff from their very, very first releases ended up on the album as well.
Yeah.
I think by mood, I think this band might be one of the darkest bands on Key Party. Just atmosphere and mood is very dark. They kind of remind me of, if you listened to a lot of Nagoya Kei in the early 2000s, La Miel were really dark. And these guys kind of feel like the La Miel of Key Party, where they were...
yeah, I think that's conscious, actually. That's definitely what they were going for.
Mm-hmm. It's like a consistently a sort of fast and dark, heavy kind of sound.
Yeah, I agree. I think this band is... I wouldn't say underrated, because that could go for basically any of these bands, but I feel like it's along with... They fall in the tier right above Rapture in terms of, bands you remember when you think of Key Party, I think. It's not one of those extremely prolific bands, but...
But the bassist joined Amiri. That's a good thing.
He did?
Tomo?
Oh yeah, he did. Yes. Sorry, I got confused because they have a new bassist also called Tomo with the exact same kanji. So
two Tomos.
That's from the like modern revival era.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, this album also, I think it was quite hard to get a hold of for a while. I remember that it was quite late until I got to hear it in good quality.
Yeah, it was definitely scarce on the internet for a long time. Now it's everywhere, but for the longest time, I think I was listening to a very poor rip.
Yeah, and like you guys said, I think it's a solid album. It's a solid release, but it's also a bit forgettable in the same sense that Nail album is forgettable because it's... I don't feel like they had a distinct, how would you say, like visual personality like some of the other bands did, which sort of made them stick in your mind. Like with Alien and Life as Lovey and those guys, they had sort of a more of a package deal, which included like specific visuals and stuff like that as well. Whereas this band feels more like just a band. Okay,
so the part of the audience that disagrees with these people, I'm with you. I support you. The views of Aaron, James, Rob, and Frederick do not represent the VKPC.
Hey, don't write me into this. I've said nothing about this band.
James said literally nothing.
Yeah, James, it's not too late to edit them out in post. You can still save yourself. But this band staged a Twitter comeback recently as per the wider trend of dudes wanting to live out their youths again while there's still an audience to be had.
I want to hear the new stuff. I wonder if it's
it's not bad, incredibly enough. It's very DIY. It has programmed drums, for example, but they're trying actually different things, and I really admire them for it. It's better than just coming back as this lame and old version of what you used to be, because that's basically pulling a Aurelia.
Oh, cool. I'll check it out later.
Yeah, I think the thing with it was that it had programmed drums, right? Wasn't that the main drawback?
There's only 3 people in the band, so...
I mean, it's recorded in either a public library or at someone's apartment, but that's, understandable. It's not like he's going to spend all his 7-Eleven savings on new Larmia stuff.
Yeah. I just like that they managed to find a Tomo to replace their old Tomo.
They should have pretended it was the same guy, just, slapped a wig on him or something like that.
Their new Tomo is apparently from 12012. Interesting.
12012.
That's how I say it.
Okay,
12012, right. The American way.
That's how I used to do it as well, until I got bullied relentlessly into saying Ichini Zero Ichini. He's also from Mr. Rouge, the new Tomo.
Yeah. Yep. Mr. Rouge.
So it's not very new in that sense. Like, this dude is also ancient in the scene.
Oh, yeah. He's been playing
and actually had a prolific career.
Yeah. So they didn't just grab anybody. They just grabbed one of their old drinking buddies who also happened to have a long band history. Yeah, but I think that's it for Larmia. So let's move on to the second to last band, which is Missalina Ray.
So I'll defer this one to you guys, especially Rob, because I'm not a huge Mussolina fan, but I played Tokimeki on loop back in the day, so that song is really kind of ingrained in my brain forever. I know Frederick hates that song.
Yes, I do.
I like it from the sample.
Yeah.
All I have to say is that Miss Lena Ray are, like, in my opinion, my humble opinion, my non-biased opinion, Miss Lena Ray are the greatest Key Party band. Like, I love Miss Lena Ray. Their attire is on point. You know, they got, in my opinion, you know, Alien had some cool costumes going on, absolutely, but Miss Selena, like, the way they're able to mix early, how do I put it? I heard some people say that frontman Arisu's light, colorful image especially during the Tokimeki era, was a precursor to Oshare because of how bubblegum and looking it is. And so with all these different kind of attire changes, you know, one minute they're gloomy goth kids, then they got, you know, a colorful palette going on. Not to mention their music was always on point. I think they released like several mini albums and a few singles and a demo, which I'm a proud owner of. I think I'm like one of, like, I think there might be some European hardcore fans out there, so if you know, you know, yeah. But yeah, Miss Selena Ray, man, I love Miss Selena Ray, like, love them, love their style, love their sound, love them, love Miss Selena, love them.
Whatever happened to Arisu?
Arisu went on to join some underground Angura band. What was it called? Coup d'etat, I think.
Oh, right.
Who would later become. He later became, like, what was it? Post paper.
Antique post paper. Yeah.
Yeah, and but by time
interesting.
Antique post paper by time they switched their name to that, Arisu was long gone. So I've never seen any images or videos or songs or anything during his run in the band, which is a shame because I'd love to see a mellowed down Agura styled Arisu. I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, he was one of those rare sort of like cutesy bubblegum frontmen in VK at the time that was not super common, and that definitely, I'm sure that had some influence on Osare that would come later. And I mean, you know, Key Party had a lot of Lolita frontmen, or at least a few of them, but not so much that sort of like cute, trendy, bouncy type persona that Arisu had.
I don't know how it's chronologically, but it's probably predated by Shazna's incredible popularity.
Yeah.
Which is definitely, but Arisu has a punky vibe to him, which then also explains why he would move on to Angura later. And for example, in their last live, for example, where they're performing Tokimeki, it almost feels like, I'm not saying that he's like kind of ripping the song in a sense, but he's there like doing this stuff quite self-aware. It's kind of koteoza in a way that there is some sort of like bizarre undercurrent to it all. I think this band has been misconstrued almost. Too much attention on Tokimeki and Arisu's persona like on a very like surface level. You know, their first mini album is really, it's a cult recording. The atmosphere is very cryptic and mysterious, and it comes from this very outlandish production. I don't know how to describe it. It's like lo-fi, but nothing like the traditional sense of the word. But it sounds like it was transcoded from a higher quality file and then transcoded again 3 times over. It's a very interesting sound.
Yeah, I have to say that even though I'm not a fan of Tokimeki, I think this first mini is quite nice, actually. I really like the track Shiroi Tsubasa. It's very cool. I guess it's their what's it called? We had a word for this, like songs songs that sound like Death Mask. I guess it's their version of that, you know, like with Penicillin had Chaos and all of those guys, various songs.
And that's the thing that I love about Miss Selena Ray, too, is their diversity. They're not afraid to get disturbed. Like, at times it can be pretty disturbingly dark. It can be uncomfortable when they go there, like in their first mini album. And then they'll just pop out of nowhere and do something ridiculous like Tokimeki, which would be the only Key Party release, I'm pretty sure I can say the only Key Party release that broke the Oricon charts, which was huge. I don't even think Nail did that when they were on a major label. And so that's the thing I love about Miss Selena Ray, too. That's another part that I love is they weren't afraid to go on both sides of the spectrum, light or dark. And they sounded great, in my opinion, on both sides. But I'm a fanboy, so.
Yeah, I would say if I said anything about Miss Selena Ray, it's that the bass is fantastic. Like Aya's a great bassist. His bass lines are so infectious. He really didn't do much of note after this band, I think, but he was also the original vocalist of the band, which is interesting. I think Arisu came in later, or not later, but pretty early.
Aya and Arisu were two very talented dudes in the sense they could both play the hell out of the bass. On their very first demo, Aya's on vocals and Arisu's on bass.
Oh, nice.
And Arisu is fantastic at it. Like, it sounds very much intact with the very gloomy but tricky kind of aesthetic bass kind of style that Miss Selena Ray would do. And so very talented dudes, too.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was interested in what you guys mentioned about Shasna, because I always felt like Arisu is this kind of like demented gothic version of Isam in some sense.
Mm-hmm. It definitely feels like Isam sort of begat Arisu.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of his poses and mannerisms in photos and stuff are very reminiscent of like poses and stuff Isam would do as well. Like this like stereotypical sort of like feminine VK dude pose.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
Rob, didn't you have like some rare collectible Miss Selena Ray merch? I remember you were mentioning something.
I don't have like, I wish I had Miss Selena Ray shirt or something, but I got their very first demo, which they claim was released in 300 copies, but I doubt more than 50 copies were pressed. I've only seen it come up for auction twice for a very high amount. I got it from a European collector. Forgot your name. But If you know who you are, you know who you are. You're a great guy, and I love you for that.
They always exaggerate those numbers. It's like 300 units produced. It's probably more like 30.
Yeah. And I got their final live VHSs. It was on 2 tapes. It was a one-man, and it split on 2 tapes, and it was mail order only. And it was like it was released right when Key Party like dissolved, so like early 01, and it was mail order only. And I don't think I've seen a full set of it for sale. I've seen like tape 1 for sale or tape 2 for sale separately, not as a set. Got that from the great guys at Rare's Hut. Shout out to Panda and Val.
Yeah.
And I love me some Miss Selena. Love me some Miss Selena.
Yeah, so let's move on to the final band on the label, and arguably the one that's most famous in the West at least, which is Alien Mariage.
Oh, and by the way, vk.gy is doing an exclusive giveaway, and you, our wonderful VKPC listener, are the only person with the chance to win some VK goodies. That's right, just you. Of course, it could be you plural, but in this case, anyways, that's right. You're going to get free stuff. I don't know exactly what kind of stuff. Just know that it'll be very cool. And if you're a collector like me, it'll definitely be something you want to fill your collection with. It might even elevate your collection, to be honest. Like if all you collect is Bow era antique cafe stuff. We here at VK Podcast have one philosophy, that you shouldn't care about what other people have been saying about you, dear bow collector. Cringe is dead, so rejoice and cover one of your eyes with your hair. What's that? You want to know how to win the giveaway? Why, by remembering the secret word. That's how. The secret word is gauze. 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 Just go into the vk.gy Discord, react to the giveaway post, and wait for the unveiling. Be ready with that secret word we talked about. The giveaway ends, I believe, 7 days after this episode airs. So don't miss out. It's going to be pretty cool. Boy! So I think this is maybe the most name-dropped Key Party band. Anytime people talk about this label, they talk about this band, I find.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a case could be made that Ali and Mariage is sort of analogous to Madeth Grail on Matina, in the same sense that they were like the big stars of the label, at least as perceived by us in the West.
And that song, Boku Shimobe, I like Alien Marriage. I like them as, I just like them. There's some guys that adore them, which I can see why. But that song, Boku Shimobe, I have to say is one of the greatest Visual Kei songs ever. The closed insanity of the song is like, it's like a song from like the inside of a mental ward where everything is fucking explodes.
Yeah.
And like it's just beautiful dark chaos, and the breakdown towards the middle of the track with the organs. It's like, damn, that's a perfect song.
Yeah, that sort of insanity element really kind of describes them and their appeal, I think. Like Kyoka's vocals in particular are very unique and sort of raw and wild. Sometimes he sounds like a goblin, and sometimes he's crooning, and then other times he's screeching like a banshee.
And other times he sounds like he escaped a mental ward.
Yeah.
I think usually I would describe the sort of noises he makes as angry birds, because it kind of sounds like an eagle screeching when he does his high-pitched squeals. I think that also, speaking about Shimobe, it's pretty funny, but because for some reason in the West everyone is calling it Boku Shimobe. I have no idea where that started, but the track is called only Shimobe. That there's no Boku in the title.
Really? I remember seeing the track listing and it had the kanji for Boku. Maybe it was a misprint or something, but
no, it's the same kanji. It's the same kanji. That's the thing. It's just Shimobe is an old pronunciation of the same kanji as Boku.
Ah,
makes sense.
Yeah.
Those tricky bastards.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually have a great poster at home, one of my most prized possessions, which is Ali and Mariage poster from '99, and it has like their tour dates and the Le Soirée album on it, and then it's like stills from the PV for this song, and it's just amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, it's one of those things I actually framed it just so I would be able to display it safely in my home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Alian songs is probably Suicide, because his screams are so intense in that song. He's really he's honestly he's like a horror movie scream queen. He sounds like he's being chased by an axe murderer a lot of the time, and it feels like I feel like honestly the range of Kyoka in that song and Alian in general is so great. It's just great. I love it.
The unabashed insanity of the band is just, it can be overwhelming at times. That's how strong and great it is. And I think that is a large part of their appeal outside of their, fantastic visuals. Kyoka in particular is memorable with his white face and red wig and whatnot. But yeah, like their music is it's crazy, man. And it's fantastic. Crazily fantastic, unabashed insanity, and Shimobe in particular. Like, man, what a piece of just awe-inspiring stuff.
even when they started with a more rudimentary bass without all the key party production tricks, when they were essentially had a hardcore as this bedrock of their sound, and even that is pretty crazy in the Karai Ningyo demo tape. It was a work in progress, but you could tell it's definitely the same band. There was some ghastly choirs and the disorientating panning, revering its head. But by the time they released their Le Soirée album, it's obviously a landmark of 1990s Visual Kei. Many different factors contributing to the unique sound on it. It has Key Party's signature production at its peak level. It's lush. It oozes this mysterious air. A lot of layering of contrasting guitar tracks and hardcore edge going right through it, with the melody still in the haunting kind of Nagoya-esque vein, and Kyoka's insane vocal technique too. It's a very intimate sound while completely jarring at the same time.
I mean, going back to the demo tape, like the recording of Burst on the demo, it's just straight up like black metal style vocals all the way through.
Oh, actually, his vocal technique is something that appeared in Fleuretis, which is a Norwegian black metal band, in one of their early tapes. I think it might be their second one, and that would predate Aliene. I don't think it was necessarily a direct inspiration, obviously, because that would have been quite scarce, but I think it's just something that both of the vocalists could do, and they just found that out by experimenting with their vocals, and that's the direction that they decided to take. And the vocalist from Fleureti actually blew his vocal cords during the recording, and the band didn't feature screaming in that way ever again.
It's interesting to think that Kyoka's vocal cords held as long as they did, since it was only in the last 5 years or so he said that, you know, his voice has become so bad he can't perform anymore. Like, even during revivals in like 2012-13, he sounded great, so I'm not sure if he just had inhumanly strong vocal cords or something, but I think for most people, screaming like this would ruin your voice pretty quickly.
Oh, yes. Same thing happened to Yuga from Devil Kitty. He lost his scream also over time. It just kind of turned into a rasp.
Yeah. I also want to add to the discussion that their first album, Le Soirée, I mean, for me personally, it's definitely on my top 10 Visual Kei albums of all time list. And it might be the definitive album of this style for me. I think I actually do place it higher than, for example, Mother's Grail's album and so on.
Oh, easily. I feel like these guys totally trump Mouth Grail. I honestly, I like Mouth Grail, but I never got the hype. They're so overblown to the point where it's like, there's so many other bands that are way better.
I don't get Death Grail either. And I've tried. God knows I've tried like several times to listen to the album with the dude and the with his banded wrists.
Yeah.
And the and I tried all that, but it's too like, I'm a soft visual guy, so maybe that's a part of it. And
Mother Grail is very cult.
Yeah,
that's how I would describe it.
Lo-fi,
this is a very high-budget professional affair. Although it's a raw recording, it still has this like it's extremely produced, and I'll put it that way. Mother Grail is distinctly unproduced.
Yeah,
it is in fact the guys jamming.
Kisaki was out doing his thing at the time with Mirage or whatever. He's like, yeah, you guys do whatever. You guys play in the garage, we'll record that. That's your album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry. Do you have something, or can I segue to the next album?
I wanted to say something more about the album that I also feel like, in the same sense when I mentioned about the La Ferie album, that I feel like this album is also one where I have absolutely no problems just listening to the whole thing straight through. It has so many twists and turns and unique tracks that you never get bored even for a second.
It's a story.
Yeah, exactly. It's it keeps you engaged all the way through, even if you've heard it 100 times. It's just great. And the one thing I have to say, though, is that the production quality does not lend itself very well to being played on big speakers in a venue. I've made many attempts trying to EQ this album to sound palatable in a club setting. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Also, I'm on vk.gy right now, and I didn't realize this, but the band's original name was Autism. Interesting.
Yeah.
Autism with a cross, yeah.
I think it was probably a Kuroyuma reference. I
think they had not a very clear idea what autism is, and even if they did, I think the term was just living its own life in VK, because the cross is just like, what does it have to do with autism? Like, autism is not gothy. It's just a condition.
Yeah, I want to see Kyoka represent Autism Speaks, though. And but in my years of Visual Kei, one thing I've seen is that I've seen a lot of comparisons with Kyoka to Big Daddy Kyo, and a lot of that. I see them compared a lot with their shrieks and the insane emotions they're willing to go in their music. And and when I think about it, it's like, Kyo was one of the greatest vocalists in Visual Kei history, let alone Japanese metal history. And even so, I think that, that's a pretty fair comparison with just how deep and insanity and emotion that Kyoka goes in Alien Marriage alone.
Yeah,
it's like,
definitely.
I can definitely see the comparison.
Mm-hmm. And later on they did 21st Century, which was a great album, I feel like, but it was kind of a departure, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we were talking about these strange third acts of these key party bands, and I think this is the most notorious one. And it's notable for the fact that although the other ones were sort of half-baked and fledgling, this one did kind of do a respectable job in the end. It also marks the debut of a Slipknot riff in Visual Kei, which was a big event, as it would basically preface the next 20 years of the scene.
We talk about it in the new metal episode.
The costumes come off, although for the album promotion material, the costumes are still there, but eventually they will get rid of them. The guitar tone and riffs do not sound like Visual Kei as we knew it at the time at all. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they managed to simultaneously sound like high schoolers in a garage and fearless pioneers, like reinventing the entire scene.
I think that this album is suffering from one thing, and it's that they're trying to make a very bass-heavy genre without any bass at all in the mix. It's very tinny and thin. It's kind of like if you put like a black metal production, like an old school black metal production on new metal, which it's not a great idea because this kind of music needs some weight to it, and I feel like these mixes don't really deliver on that.
Hey, at least it's still eccentric, like key party stuff in general. So in that sense, it's like still in character. But it's a, I guess you could describe it as a love-or-hate thing. Y2K quasi-industrial new metal.
Yeah, I only heard a few tracks off it, but I remember having a very strong industrial kind of feel.
Yeah.
And it was okay. I mean, Kyoka still in the tracks I heard. I didn't hear the majority of the album like I did their previous one with Shimobei. But from what I heard, it's good. Kyoka still has the over-the-top insane vocals on the tracks that I heard, at least. But it's definitely different. Yeah, a lot more industrial. Perhaps, dare I say, not as in the dark realm as their other album. But still, biting, at least with Kyoka's vocals, very biting and, very Kyoka's still on top of his game.
Yeah, it's a bit like a mesh of like Fear Factory and Slipknot with some Korn inspo in there. It's clear they were listening to Western music at the time.
And some, like, I think their, like, thematic inspiration had some, like, cyberpunk stuff going on as well, if you look at the album cover and all, and some of the tracks titles.
Yeah, for sure. And that brings up again the question, was this a conscious decision made by the label to push the bands in this direction, or did all of these guys just happen to be into this aesthetic at the same time? And in Aliena's case, I would say it's a little bit of both. I think they were encouraged, but at the same time, I think their appreciation for nu metal obviously is completely genuine. Kyoka would keep working on this sound basically for the rest of his career.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also think it's not a bad album. It could have been improved a lot with a different production, but there's still some great songs on here. Like Divine the Future from the Stars is a real hit in this sort of style, I would say.
And when you listen to their last live, it's surprising at how comfortably the old and the new material mixed in. But that's when you strip the Lesori album material from its Key Party patented production. It basically goes to the basics. It's very hardcore influenced, Nagoya influenced Visual Kei.
It actually says on the cover of 21st Century, digital hardcore, which I think is a genre on its own, but it doesn't fit this. But it's still sort of similar.
The Atari band, yeah.
Yeah, Mad Capsule Market.
Yeah. Exactly.
Metronome.
Although, Mad Capsule Markets, when they first started, like the first 3 years or so, were visual-esque. Now people remember that. Because their previous band, Barry, were like a pre-visual kind of band, had the makeup, and they kind of carried that over a bit to Mad Capsule Markets. And then they're like, why the fuck are we doing this? And then they just dropped it. And
yeah, they had the spiky hair.
Not a lot of people remember
Silver
that.
dye. Good stuff.
Well, nobody from this band was quite the same afterwards. Mast drifted from fledgling period bands that went nowhere before reuniting with Ray again in the extremely disappointing attempt to get in with the Kids in Dead Children. Ray, on the other hand, did Nega. And I don't know how much of his input was in it, but it did start out as his project. But I think towards the end, Jin's personality took over. But Kyoka became a YouTube star when Insanity Injection was featured in the YouTuber's React video. Although sadly, Insanity Injection didn't get to headline the Budokan on the back of the feature, although it was close. So Aliena came back for a few lives, and allegedly those early reunion lives were good.
Yeah, they were. They were really good.
Towards the end, though.
Yeah, it's pretty horrid. When you listen to the last live they had, there was a stream of it. I watched it. It was very painful to watch because he couldn't sing, he couldn't scream, He couldn't really do much of anything.
Hence the retirement, I guess.
Didn't Kyoka fall off stage in one of the videos?
Did he fall off stage in one of the
videos?
videos?
Yeah, there is a video where he's trying to stage dive and basically the audience just doesn't catch him and he just falls on his ass.
He's past his prime. Nobody carries Kyoka anymore.
The fangirls don't want to get scrapped up.
Damn.
In his defense, he wasn't super active in like putting out new material constantly and anything. I think he was into music just as like a passion project rather than as an attempt to really make it.
So I think that just about sums it up. Do you guys have any final words on this episode, on this label? Anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Key Party, good.
What was your favorite Key Party band?
Alien Mariage.
Alien Mariage, probably, yeah.
I bet no one will guess mine.
I bet yours is
Rapture.
Yeah, Rapture is your favorite.
Close, it's Nail.
Maybe it's okay, Nail. Misselina Nail.
Nail Ray.
Nail Ray. Mine's Eliphas Levy. Good shit. I hope everyone listening to this show goes through and listens to every one of these bands. They're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's worth it. And most of them have not enormous discographies, so it's not a unsurmountable project, let's say.
I would say the big four are Miss Selena, Alien, Noir Floor, and Noir, maybe?
The most popular, yeah, probably.
So if anyone out there is curious, I would recommend those big four, because they're the biggest ones. Or if you like your stuff a bit more on the raw side, Rapture's probably up on your speed, or Larmia.
Yeah. I think that's the first time anyone has ever recommended Rapture to anyone.
Yeah, I don't think I'd.
If you like your if you like your stuff on the S side, and Rapture's your guy, the guys.
And if you love good-natured rapping and like surf rock riffing,
Late noir,
you can check out the. Oh hell yeah!
Hell yeah! If you like disappointment.
If you like some great new metal, check out Limp Bizkit, the greatest Cote band of all time.
Yeah, actually, at the end of this episode, I think the one message you should go away with is to listen to Limp Bizkit. That
Limp
sums it up.
Bizkit all day, man.
It's just one of those days.
Yeah,
We're not doing this again. We did that on the last one. I had to edit that shit to make it sound good.
Okay. I guess that just about does it. So thanks for joining us, Rob. It was nice to have you on the pod.
Thank you.
And yeah. Wait, am I supposed to say something before? Oh yeah, I am, sorry. And of course, as usual, thank you everyone for listening.
Where you don't want to wake up, everything is fucked and everybody sucks.
Limp Bizkit all day.
Sayonara.
Fred Durst, Cote president.
I'd like to take this quiet little moment we have here to thank our core member, patron on Patreon, BioPanda. Thank you as always. We appreciate everything you do very, very much. If any of you listeners out there are interested in supporting us on Patreon, we post side content, outtakes, bloopers. We also do polls and stuff for voting on future episodes. Go check it out. You can become a support member, a core member, anything like that, and we will shout you out at the end of an episode. Thank you very much for listening. We really appreciate it. Bye.